Welcome back to the show. You're still watching GHToday here on GH1 Television. Thank you very much for staying tuned. It's time for the breakfast review. Two of my guests are already seated here in the studio, and so we'll get the discussion underway here on GHToday on GH1 Television. Two of my guests are here in the studio. The Deputy Youth Organizer for the NDC, Osman Ayariga, has joined us here in the studio. Osman, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you doing, Osman?
We're doing well. We're managing.
What are you managing?
We're managing the terrible economy under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We are managing the hardship under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And of course, we are going through colossal corruption under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And day in, day out, we hear ministers have millions of cedis in their rooms. I just don't know about my brother.
Just one minister that we heard had millions in her room.
Another staffer had over $135,000 stolen from her house. That's a staffer. The last time we heard of a CEO with millions of cedis that he couldn't account for in his bank account. So you see the trend. I don't know how much my brother Enoch Afokwa has in his bedroom, but it's an issue of national security concern that, considering the unemployment, the hunger, and the anger within the youth, you have people living in very lavish lifestyles. You have people living in the beauty of their own largesse, with the youth hungry and unemployed. So I can only manage and hope that the youth will be calm till 2024 December so that we can boot the looters out of government. So that is what we are managing for now. Yeah,
that's an interesting take. But thank you for joining us in the studio this morning. Also here is Enoch Afokwa. He's a member of the NPP's communications team. Enoch, good morning.
Good morning, Lantam.
How are you doing? Are you also managing?
Oh. In as much as we are managing our lives, we continue to manage by the grace of God. Because we own our lives. Because God has given us life. And we need to manage according to the tenets of God. So we continue to manage. It is not based on political on political grounds. Like my brother Ayariga is saying, that because people are having money in their rooms. Yeah, he equally has money in his rooms.
Are you in my room?
Yes.
I don't have money in my room. I don't have money in my bank account. In this economy, how can I have money?
He cited me. Yes, I have money in my room.
Yes, yeah.
I have some 100 Ghana cedis in my room. Certainly I have money.
Yeah, you still have money. It's money.
You have 100 Ghana cedis. Osman says he doesn't have any money at all.
At all.
But I have money.
He doesn't have money at all in his bank account.
I have a boast of 100 Ghana cedis in my room.
Oh, okay.
Aisha is not 100,000 Ghana cedis. Aisha is not 100,000 Ghana cedis.
Some staffers are having money in their room. Sometimes they are private people before coming to public. Some private personalities like Honorable Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, Dr. Sinyari Japon, Dr. Macaulay, who are noted to be business moguls in this republic, may have monies in their rooms where people cannot criticize them and cite them for any corruption or corruption-related offences, largely because they are not serving in public office. Means that people migrated from the public private life into public service.
Right.
And once after serving from the public service, they will go back to their private life. So until investigations prove otherwise, we cannot point fingers, accusing fingers at them to say that they have committed a grievous offence.
Okay. Interesting stuff there, but let's get into our conversations right away, shall we? We'll begin with a headline on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. And the headline says, NDC incites youth against 10% betting tax. It's on page 3 of the Daily Guide newspaper. So let me read it. So it says, the opposition National Democratic Congress has instigated youth protests against the implementation of the 10% tax on bet winnings, vowing to launch a series of mass protests against the taxation. Parliament recently amended the tax law to allow for the imposition of tax on betting and lotteries and the Ghana Revenue Authority has announced plans to impose a 10% withholding tax on gross winnings from sports betting and other lotteries beginning on August 15. What is today's date? Today's August 17. So it's taking effect. And as the GRA began the tax collection in accordance with the new Tax Act, the NDC Youth Wing issued a statement urging the youth to protest, claiming that the 10% tax on bet winnings was unjust. In the face of the unjust 10% taxation on bet wins, we, the young people of Ghana, and the NDC youth declare a resolute series of actions to resist this burdensome and insensitive policy, according to a statement signed by George Opariado, who is a youth organizer. According to him, their unity is unwavering, and the youth wing of the party was determined to protect the funds young people secure through betting. He also said that the NDC youth would make their views heard through agitations, protests, advocacy, and civil engagement in order for the government to reverse its decision. Osman, you are the deputy youth organizer for the NDC. The government is in a tight corner with regard to managing the economy, restoring economic stability, among other things. Betting, that's a form of gambling, right? And the government feels that one of the ways we can raise revenue is to place, some tax on the winnings. What is wrong with that?
I think first and foremost, let me try and correct some erroneous impressions that has been created by some propagandists of the MPP, both on social media and the traditional media after the story broke out yesterday. And you'll see some flyers flying all over social media saying John Dramani Mahama wants to even ban betting. And you've seen some also saying the minority leader, when he was member of parliament and not minority leader, also said it should be banned. And there are some instances where they even said the national communication officer also said it should be banned, etc., etc. And you see a desperate attempt to try and equalize their current unpopular position so far as the bet is concerned. So I just want to state it out there that most of these fabrications coming from some propagandist unit within the MPP are untrue. So I want to state that emphatically, that all those flyers and all those misinformations should be ignored. Another time, we find ourselves in very, very, very difficult situations. We find ourselves in situations that we have never ever witnessed in the history of this country, where you have huge numbers of unemployment, you have huge numbers of people moving into or under the poverty line. Just recently, the World Bank report indicated that 850,000 people, I think it was just last month, have moved into the poverty line, and that was also as a result of, I think they even quoted DDP as being part of the reasons where people had moved into the poverty bracket. Young people are unemployed. Young people were promised jobs. Currently, they are jobless. Young people were promised hope, and they are currently going through a state of hopelessness. Young people were promised a Ghana that was going to be flourishing, a better Ghana, but they are going through a better Ghana. Young people believed in Akufo-Addo, but currently they are just in a state of confusion. Young people gambled by voting for the MPP when Akufo-Addo said we should try him. Young people, that was a gamble young people took by trying Akufo-Addo. Today, they are regretting. And they are regretting in huge numbers. And that is because of the recklessness, the incompetence, and the wickedness of this government. Why, Lantam, ever since this government came to power, let's just even talk about our debt stock. It has ballooned from about 120 billion figure thereabout to 550 billion and counting. A government that has had so much resources of these numbers at its disposal within a short period of time has nothing to show so far as the numbers are concerned, because to whom much is given, much is expected. So if you have been able to acquire so much resources through Eurobonds, through the local bonds, through the open market, through bilateral, multilateral loans, and there's absolutely nothing to show so far as the numbers are concerned, and this government continues to tax everything, anything, and whatever that looks like money, under the guise that we find ourselves in very difficult situations, and for that matter, we need to tax A to get out of our difficult situation. Just recently, you all remember what happened to the e-levy. What was the hue and cry? What is the noise? What was the position of government? Government came out with a huge excuse that if we didn't implement e-levy, what it meant was that we were going to the IMF. What happened? We implemented e-levy. At the end of the day, we still went to the IMF. And we told you that there is nothing left for you to tax. Just recently, what again has been taxed? There has been taxation on even sanitary pads. And I ask myself every day, how did we get here to the extent that we have to be taxing sanitary pads? Don't forget that under John Dramani Mahama, sanitary pads were almost made free, if you quite remember. And the same NPP propagandists, I remember at the time, led by Samuel Uku, saying that it was demonic. Why is the NDC so fixated on sharing free sanitary pads? We have moved from free to it being taxed. That is the double standard of the NPP. So you would realize that their current test and passion for borrowing and looking for money, they've realized that they've been locked so far as the financial market is concerned. So now they are looking at anything and everything they can tax us to be able to make money. We are tired. There's nothing left for you to tax.
So is this a protest against a tax regime, or this is a protest against betting winnings and the tax that have been imposed on bet winning? What is it really? Because you've gone through a chronology of events,
yes, it's
citing instances
multifaceted
of taxes that have been imposed at various points, right? So is the NDC youth wing against high tax regime, or specifically the 10% betting tax? Because I think it was premised on that the statement was released, and issued by your youth wing, which you are the deputy youth organizer, signed by Giorgio Pariado. Yes, you work together.
Yes.
So what is it?
We are against a high tax regime, and we are against this better. Don't forget, even e-levy, we're against e-levy. We spoke against e-levy. Right. We are on the streets against e-levy. So it's not as if we are happy with a high tax regime. We're against a high tax regime that we do not see a direct correlation between the tax and the development. We're against a high tax regime where we realize, and young people see, that the taxes they are paying is ending up in people's bedrooms. It's ending up in the pockets of politicians. That is what we are against. No one is against development, mind you. As a youth, I'll be happy if after school I realize that every graduate is gainfully employed. As a youth, we will be happy if we realize that we apply the road and the roads are tarred. We wake up and everything is moving. The system is working. No one is against development. No one is against paying and seeing a direct link and correlation between your tax and the development. But where you pay more and you are seeing absolutely nothing, that is what we are fighting now. And that is what we've been fighting for some time now. And for this particular one, we are fighting it because it is going to further burden and exacerbate the current woes of the youth.
How will the 10% tax on bet winnings exacerbate the current burden that you say that is on the youth? How is it going to do that?
Lantam, the youth are currently burdened already with so many taxes. Lantam, just go out there to a restaurant and eat and let them bring you the itemized bill. When you even calculate the tax component, it's almost between 20 to 25% of the bill you are eating, of the bill of the food you are eating. Just import a vehicle and read the various tax components, and you realize that you are paying, aside from the import duty and the VAT, you are paying over 19 tax components within that space. And permit me, let me just 1 minute, let me just try and pull out one tax component for you. This is importation of a car, tema, and realize that they even tax you, and out of the tax you are even paying a levy for the system that is being used to collect the tax. Lantam, how did we get here? Import duty, there's a tax component. Import VAT, this is just you importing a vehicle into Ghana. Processing fee, ECOWAS levy, vehicle certification, vehicle examination fee, network charge, network charge VAT, network charge COVID-19 health, Ghana Shippers Authority SNF fee, import NHIL, network charge NHIL, mean that you pay for the NHIL and you pay for the network charge. That is the network that is being used to collect the money so far as the NHIL is concerned. Then there's IRS tax deposits, GHS disinfection fee, MOTI, that's Ministry of Trade and Industry, IDF fee, special import levy, Ghana Export Import Bank levy, Ghana Education Trust Fund import levy. Don't forget that initially Get Fund was just directly under the VAT. So now they coupled it. So now there's Get Fund levy, there's the NHIL, and there's the VAT component. And that's why we're saying that this government has introduced more taxes into the system. That is already burdening the end. After the entire list, then you now see COVID-19 health recovery levy. Why? I mean, how did we get here? When Baumia was promising us that we're moving from taxation to production, we have moved from taxation to more taxation to further taxation, now into suffering and extreme hardship. This is where we have gotten to. So the youth of this country are already burdened with many taxes. And who tells you that the best way to generate revenue is to continue to tax us? You have eaten the meat.
These are
You have eaten the meat.
No, but these are bet winnings. Don't you think that's a fair area, to go into taxes? Because it's like, games, like what people do in casinos, whatever. So it's games of chance, the lottery, that people are playing. So you could have 5 cities and end up winning 50,000 cities. You could have 10 cities and end up winning 100,000 cities. You could have, 50 cities, end up winning 5,000 Ghana cities.
100,000,
right? So
lose all.
And also lose all. So it's a game of chance. So the risk you are taking. So if an area like that is being taxed, what is wrong with that? That's what I want to understand. What is wrong with that? And how? So is this to say that we are encouraging the youth to continue to engage in betting, and that is the only way that they can survive? Because I've heard people say that the youth do not have jobs. The government has made the youth desperate, and so they have resorted to betting, and that is their only means of survival. And now that they are also betting and making earnings from betting, government wants to come and tax the winnings that they make from betting. That is the argument I've heard. Is that why you are against the 10% tax on betting?
But government is already taxing the bet companies. The betting companies are paying tax. The problem we have with government is the burden ordinary Ghanaians are currently going.
No, you've already established that. And you've already established,
and that is key.
You beautifully made your point,
with all the taxes that have been imposed and all of that.
But I want to understand the link there between the 10% betting tax and the action that you want to take and the series of demonstrations that you want to embark on and all of that. And I've tried to give you a certain foundation of why I'm asking you that. Yeah. And that's what I want you to address.
Yes. The 10% tax on the wins, as we said, is just going to further impoverish the ordinary Ghanaian and going to impoverish the youth. No one is saying that the youth should not work and resort to betting. No. What you're trying to say is that if jobs had been provided, if the government had provided jobs and taxed us as we work, we won't have a problem with that. If I wake up every morning and I go to work and government is taxing me and I'm paying payee, I'm paying whatever tax through the earnings of a secure job that I know at the end of every 30 days, or at the end of every month, I am receiving salary. That makes absolute sense. That is a regime to tax. But you do not tax me based on a game I'm playing, a game of chance. It's not a game of constant revenue that you know that, whatever be the case, anytime I play the game, I win. It's just a game of chance. And that is the problem. And government in itself has not even provided any infrastructure so far as that game is concerned. I'm just on my phone betting about how Chelsea is going to play next week, how Liverpool is going to play next week, how Manchester is going to play next week. And government is interested in taxing that. I am telling you, and the youth of this country are not happy with this tax. Of course, no one is happy about the tax, but this tax is just going to further burden and impoverish the youth. And we are gauging the momentum of the youth and the country. And we are telling you that the timing, the tax itself is only going to impoverish the youth. And we are not interested in making sure that we have more youth move into the poverty line. But currently, that is the agenda of this government. They do not care how many people go into the poverty bracket. So far as government is making money, they are excited about it. So far as government is making money and half of that money or a chunk of that money goes into wastage, they are excited about it. Lantam, we'll tell them that if this government is able to cut just wastage, if you read the Auditor General's report, and you see that averagely from 2017 to 2023, averagely every year, there's a loss of between 12 to 17 billion Ghana cedis. You know that. If that wastage is just cut off, I don't think we'll be where we are. I don't think we'll even be at the IMF.
So the tax has been imposed, and before I come to Mr. Papanko here, the tax has been imposed. It took effect on the 15th. Today is the 17th. You've said you want to do a series of actions. What are you doing? What is happening from today? Because as we speak now, the tax is in effect. It has taken effect, right? So what is the NDC Youth Wing going to do, apart from, the statement that you issued?
The first step which we are embarking on is the statement and the advocacy. By close of today or tomorrow, we'll put out the roadmap and timelines. Right now, there's a roadmap which will include picketing, which will include demonstrations, which will include, public lectures, etc., etc. But then, by the close of today or tomorrow, we'll be able to put out timelines and put out venues as to how we are going to roll out. So I entreat the youth to continue to remain resolute. I've seen various and several agitations on social media, Twitter, Facebook. I tell them that they should remain resolute, that this is going to be a long walk.
Okay.
And they should join us, they should endure it, and by all means, there will be some resistance, but they should remain focused, remain strong, and at the end of the day, we surely will see light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. Enoch, let me come to you now. Osman has talked about the tax regime, right? And how we are burdened with a lot of taxes. And one of the mantras of this government before they formed the government was from taxation to production. But it looks like the number of taxes are quite burdensome to the ordinary Ghanaian. And now it has reached bet winnings. Betting companies are already being taxed. Now, when you go and stake the bet, I understand that there's a certain tax component in staking the bet and using your money to stake the bet. Now you win and they pay the money into your account. When you are transferring the money into another account, it is tax. When you are withdrawing it, there's a certain tax that you pay on it. All of these taxes are being paid. And now there's a 10% tax on the winnings as well. So is this the taxation to production?
Yeah, Lantam, thank you very much. And let me say a very good morning to your cherished viewers and my people watching from Obuasi constituency, Obuasi's constituency. They are sending me a lot of text messages here that they are watching you live.
Well, good morning to the people in Obuasi.
Yeah. Lantam, I can see why my brother Osman Ayariga is struggling, knowing him from the days of in student politics, when I was national president of USAC, and he was then a delegate aspiring to be the NUC's president, National Union of Ghana Students president. I know Osman Ayariga is not in support of all these things because he's struggling in the studio to even advance the cause of their protest against the imposition of this levy or tax, because Parliament of Ghana has approved same, and Parliament of Ghana is not made up of only NPP. It is both sides, NPP and DC, majority, minority. And once a tax policy has gone through Parliament and has been approved, the bill has been approved into law, the President has assented to it. It is lawful, and no one can say that this is only the NPP that imposed this burden on the people of Ghana. Lantam, you mentioned that we stated in our manifesto that we are going to move from taxation to production.
Mm-hmm.
And the Patriotic Party, the first term of our government, abolished or repealed 15 nuisance taxes, and some of the taxes reduced. With your permission, I will just call out the taxes one after the other, 15 tax regimes, for you to know how far we have gone. And again, I will also let you know that in 2020, the NDC's manifesto, they had in their manifesto the establishment of a sports development fund. And when their national communication officer or director, Mr. Sami Jemfi Esquire, was asked on one of your sister networks, he stated clearly that they are going to use sports betting to feed into this fund. And as to how they are going to use sports betting, if it is not taxing sports betting, how are they going to generate resources from sports betting to feed into the sports development fund that they proposed establishing when they were successful, or when Ghanaians voted them into power as part of their manifesto? So it is intriguing that the same party that supported the passage of this amendment bill, the income tax amendment bill, into law, is now sitting outside criticizing or critiquing. It is a populist approach that they are employing because they know that it is not tasteful to pay tax. Lantam, you sitting here, the meager salary that you take from GH Media at the end of the month, when you look on your pay slip, you see deductions, pay as you earn, your contribution to national development.
It's the EIB network, by the way.
Sorry, EIB network.
Yes, GH1 TV.
Exactly, EIB network.
Star FM.
And on your absolutely on your pay slip, you see deductions because your earnings attract some level of taxes to support the provision of social infrastructure and social amenities or municipal services that will assist you live comfortably in this republic as a Ghanaian. Likewise, when you travel outside, you see the developments all over, as you are seeing in our country now, looking at the Pokwasi interchange, looking at the payment of free education, school fees for our brothers in the senior high school level, looking at the major infrastructure, road infrastructures, and other infrastructure government is putting in place. All this requires revenue. And as part of the revenue measures, government decided that yes, once we have abolished all these nuisance taxes, there are certain areas that we can also tap into it, because over the years, we have always heard through our budget that expansion of the tax net, because it is only you workers within the formal sectors that get taxed basically all the time. And in as much as we are able to expand the tax net to attract more taxpayers into the tax bracket, government gets a lot of revenue, and the burden on the formal workers who contribute to their quota, because their deductions can be made upfront. EIB network will take it whether you like it or yes from your monthly salary at the end of the month, and you have no cause to complain. Likewise, this sports betting, once they win the earnings, is it winning? Once you win, then it is incumbent on the company that you place the bet with to deduct the 10%, and you will not even see it. The cry of the masses is that
but then your expected winnings significantly reduce.
No,
and the betting companies are already being taxed, right?
No, every company, EIB network is taxed. Corporate tax, they pay corporate tax.
Yes.
Their staff also pay as you earn tax, the income tax. At the end of the directors of the company also pay their taxes.
Yes.
So once you go through even the corporate structure, you see the level of how taxes are calculated. So it is not assuming that companies being regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana, required by law. Let's say, I don't want to mention any sports betting company's name on your network because they are not paying for advert. But if, let's say, company A engaging in sports betting is a corporate entity who is required to pay its corporate tax by law, at the end of the day, the staff within the company are also required to pay their earnings at the end of the month, their salaries, also by law. Then, and the earnings, people who place their bet, Parliament also has approved of same, that we should also take 10% out of it. Granted, it is an ongoing debate. You see, government is a listening government. In as much as paying taxes are so difficult, paying taxes are overstretched or overburdens the people, that we feel that, oh yes, like other countries, we can say we are doing zero taxation in our country. If the president has the requisite muzzle to say that we have enough resources that we don't even need to tax the people of Ghana to get revenue to run the affairs of this country, so be it. The president would have been happy. But this is not the case, that the country is run by resources from the contributions of our citizens, our corporate institutions, corporate Ghana, to facilitate the development of our country. I will implore the youth to, as it were, contribute their quota through those who engage in this sports betting. You see, once government introduces taxes, there are two things involved in raising revenue for the development of our country. Two, in terms of excise duty and those things, sometimes to regulate the conduct of certain ills in society. You know, betting, I see betting as a lawful entity because it's regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. But some religious entities, like the Christian Council, or let's say the Muslim Ummah, also frowns on, their doctrines also frowns on betting and gaming. So a Muslim cleric will not support
sports betting or will not support even lottery and those regard. Are you getting it? So we have various interpretation insofar as betting is concerned. And as part of measures to discourage or to encourage betting, once it is legal, it is lawful, it means that people are required. If you have interest in it, you can go into it because you are not restricted by law.
Yeah.
To go into it. But once you win, you must also pay something to support national development. And somebody may also get demoralized that yes, if I am going to play this game of chance, that my success of winning is 50-50. I can lose, I can gain, and if I'm going to be taxed at the end of maybe my earnings, having struggled to make ends meet at the end of the day. Then let me even stop betting at all. It satisfies those who are raising moral issues as and ethical issues with regards to betting. That yes, they've gotten some people out of the betting bracket as far as their tenets, their doctrines are concerned. Likewise, government is also getting revenue to support the number of calls on the neck of government in terms of roads, in terms of water, in terms of affordable housing, in terms of all this worthwhile. Lantam, government of the New Patriotic Party has suffered a serious economic crisis. As you know, and the people of Ghana are aware, we inherited a destabilized economy, judging from large borrowings which did not even end up satisfying the need for the borrowing. I.e., let's even mention the Saglami housing project, which we contracted or we procured a loan of $200 million.
But it's not the same situation we are faced with now, reason for which we are in an economic downturn. You talk about high borrowing.
Yeah. Not high borrowing per se.
Because once you borrow, you talk about high borrowing. When you inherited this economy in 2017, the economy was in distress, and because the previous government had borrowed, and I mean, and this particular government has come and borrowed more. So why do you talk about
Lantam,
the borrowing that was done during the NDC
nobody's
time, when
saying
your own government is a worst culprit of borrowing?
No. Lantam, nobody's saying borrowing is wrong. Nobody has said that.
You guys vilified borrowing that the government has borrowed too much.
Borrowing for a good cause.
All the money is here and all of that.
Borrowing for a good
you come in and issue all these euro bonds and what have you. And now our debt levels are unsustainably high. That is why we are where we are. We have to do DDP and all of that. So when you talk about borrowing in the other administration,
when you even mention DDP,
and then you fail to
let me finish. I'll get to even this domestic debt exchange program.
They begin to wonder.
No, you see, this domestic debt exchange program that you mentioned, as a result of all these frivolous borrowings that we did, which monies were procured, but the intended purposes were not materialized. Talk of this Saglimi housing project, $200 million, almost about 2.2 billion Ghana cedis. Is anybody living in any unit of the Saglimi housing project? Parliament approved of this $200 million for the construction of 5,000 affordable housing scheme. Currently, we can talk about 1,500, not 1,500, about 1,500, which are at various stages of completion. And that's required. We may need about $140 million to be able to complete Saglimi housing, the 1,500 alone. Have we satisfied the quest for the procurement of this loan? That we're going to use this $200 million to build affordable housing, 5,000 affordable housing for the people of Ghana in 18 months. And this is on the neck of government to pay this or service this loan. Look at the amortization on the loan, the interest on this loan and those things. All this accounted for the debt burden of government.
All the way to the about 120 billion that the debt stock was in 2017. From 2017 all the way through to 2023, more borrowing has been done, which has further added to the debt stock, and that has been
so that
is what I refer to.
No, when you talk about debt stock, you forget about the amortization, the interest on those loans. And in as much as these loans, this interest adds on every month, adds on every year, then it means that these loans compound. So if it is 120 million, it is no more 120 million.
The reason why we are where we are is because the previous administration borrowed, unnecessarily, and the amortization has contributed significantly to where we are today. And that has really not got anything to do with how this particular administration has also borrowed. Is that what we are doing?
It's a factor. Governance is a continuous process. You cannot say that all the burden, we are only pointing accusing fingers at the previous government alone. We cannot say that. But I am mentioning that Ayarga mentioned over here that government borrowed and what.
Yes.
Forgetting that even with this pay or take arrangement with the independent power producers alone, we are owing in excess of about $2 billion. $2 billion. Out of this $2 billion, over $1 billion is just on excess capacity alone, pay or take arrangement, which we have not consumed.